For months, astronomers tracked 3I/ATLAS with the comfortable certainty of scientists who believed they understood what they were seeing. Its green tail streaked across the void with predictable elegance, its trajectory plotted and replotted until every orbital mechanic agreed on its path. It was strange, yes, interstellar objects always are, but it was comprehensible, measurable, safe within the boundaries of known physics. Then, at precisely 2 a.m. UTC on a Tuesday morning that would fracture our understanding of the cosmos, an amateur astronomer in Chile aimed his backyard telescope at ATLAS and captured something that should not exist: 9 faint points of light, moving in perfect formation around the comet, like fireflies circling a lantern, their movements synchronized with an impossible precision that made his hands shake as he verified the image again and again. Within 6 hours, the world's most sophisticated instruments had turned their gaze toward ATLAS, and every single one confirmed what the amateur had seen. The James Webb Space Telescope, floating a million miles from Earth, recorded the escorts with crystalline clarity. Hubble, veteran of countless cosmic mysteries, added its verification. The Very Large Telescope in Chile's Atacama Desert captured spectroscopic data that made astrophysicists go pale. This wasn't a glitch, wasn't cosmic ray interference, wasn't a software artifact or optical illusion. The professionals felt goosebumps rise on their arms as they cross-referenced the data, each confirmation arriving like a hammer blow against the comfortable walls of their understanding. Atlas was not alone. It had never been alone, and whatever moved with it had been there all along, invisible until this moment, waiting. The public never saw it coming, because the public was never meant to see it at all. While amateur astronomers shared their stunning images across forums and social media, creating a wildfire of speculation and wonder, the world's space agencies maintained a deafening silence. NASA issued no statement. ESA offered only vague acknowledgments of ongoing observations. The tension between what citizen scientists could plainly see and what global institutions refused to acknowledge created a vacuum filled with questions and fear. This was first contact, perhaps, but it was first contact that bypassed every protocol, every contingency plan, every carefully prepared statement gathering dust in government archives. The discovery belonged to the amateurs, to the curious, to anyone with a telescope and the courage to point it at the truth. By the time official channels caught up, the revelation had already escaped, spreading like light itself across a world that was about to discover it had never been as alone as it thought. Atlas carries a designation that places it in the rarest category of cosmic visitors. 3I, the third confirmed interstellar object ever detected entering our solar system. Before it came one, I/Oumuamua in 2017, that strange cigar-shaped mystery that accelerated without visible outgassing, and 2I/Borisov in 2019. The first interstellar comet that at least behaved predictably. But Atlas was different from the moment of discovery. Its green tail, caused by diatomic carbon molecules fluorescing under solar radiation, stretched behind it like a banner announcing arrival. More troubling were the anomalous accelerations that couldn't be fully explained by outgassing or solar pressure, subtle course corrections that hinted at something beneath the ice actively maneuvering. Even before the companions appeared, ATLAS was already weird, already wrong, already making scientists nervous in ways they couldn't quite articulate in peer-reviewed papers. The night everything changed unfolded with the kind of escalating dread found in the best thriller films. The Chilean amateur posted his image at 2:43 a.m. UTC with a simple caption, "What are these?" Within 20 minutes, astrophysicists on 3 continents had begun emergency observation sequences. At ESA's operations center, night shift engineers clustered around monitors, their coffee growing cold as confirmation poured in. Slack channels at NASA exploded with messages, each new data point adding weight to an impossible conclusion. Hushed memos began circulating through classified channels, each marked with security designations that hadn't been used since the Cold War. The disbelief lasted perhaps 3 hours. The alarm that followed has not subsided since. Control rooms that should have been humming with routine maintenance checks instead buzzed with frantic activity as humanity's best and brightest grappled with the realization that they were watching something their textbooks had never prepared them for. The spectral analysis that followed provided details that made natural comet fragment explanations collapse under scrutiny. Comets are ice, rock, and organic compounds, dirty snowballs, as Carl Sagan fondly called them. But the escorts showed signatures of nickel, cobalt, and alloys that don't form naturally in cometary nuclei. These were engineered materials, or something so exotic that Earth's periodic table struggled to categorize them. Then came the energy readings, and scientists found themselves reaching for comparisons that sounded like science fiction. Atlas itself radiated approximately 10 gigawatts of power from its core, enough energy to power a medium-sized nation, emanating from an object the size of a small city. Each of the 9 companions clocked in at 20 gigawatts apiece, double the output of their mothership. These weren't passive chunks of ice reflecting sunlight. These were machines, reactors, power sources wrapped in cometary camouflage and burning with an intensity that had no natural analog in solar system physics. The moment professionals privately admitted the truth came in leaked fragments, anonymous quotes to trusted journalists, carefully worded academic papers that danced around the conclusion without stating it outright. Nature doesn't build nuclear reactors inside ice balls. Nature doesn't coordinate 9 objects to move in perfect formation. Nature doesn't time arrivals or maintain power outputs or radiate in spectral bands that suggest controlled processes rather than chaotic thermal emissions. One NASA scientist, speaking off the record to a reporter who would later have the interview classified, put it simply, "If these are probes, if they're machines sent from somewhere else, the implications are staggering. It means we're being studied. It means someone out there is watching us, has perhaps always been watching us, and we're only now smart enough to see them watching back." The companions didn't gradually drift into view like distant ships emerging from fog. They blinked into existence in under a millisecond, appearing between one telescope exposure and the next, as if reality itself had been edited. To understand the speed of their emergence, consider that a human eye blinks in approximately 300 milliseconds. A camera flash fires in about 5 milliseconds. These objects materialized faster than perception, faster than most mechanical processes, in a time frame that suggests either extraordinary technology or a fundamental misunderstanding of how matter behaves in space. They were not there, and then they were, with no transition, no gradual brightening, no warning whatsoever. The impossibility of missing them makes their sudden appearance even more disturbing. Dozens of space probes were already monitoring Atlas during the weeks before emergence. Juno, orbiting Jupiter, had clear line of sight. Parker's solar probe, humanity's closest envoy to the sun, should have detected thermal signatures. Mercury missions, ESA's BepiColombo, even amateur satellite trackers, all had eyes on the interstellar visitor. Yet none registered the companions until that Tuesday morning in Chile. Either they weren't there to be detected, or they were there and deliberately hiding, employing stealth technology so sophisticated that our best instruments saw nothing until something changed. Some signal was sent. Some decision was made to reveal themselves. The alternative, that they were always visible and we simply couldn't see them despite looking directly at them, might be even more terrifying. 3 theories emerged to explain deployment, each more cinematic than the last. The first suggests the companions were dormant, buried deep within ATLAS's icy nucleus, waiting for solar radiation to reach a critical threshold that triggered awakening. Picture microscopic machines lying frozen for millennia, then activating in the sun's warmth like seeds sprouting in spring, but seeds with fusion reactors for hearts. The second theory proposes they were released in formation, small craft or probes ejected from the main body in a coordinated sequence timed to the microsecond, fanning out like fighter jets launching from a carrier while maintaining perfect relative positions. The third, most unsettling possibility, they were never inside ATLAS at all, but arrived independently, hiding in plain sight until a coded signal, perhaps from Atlas, perhaps from somewhere deeper in space, told them it was time to show themselves. Whichever theory proves correct, one truth remains inescapable. Nothing about their emergence suggests randomness, accident, or natural process. This was planned, timed, executed with precision that implies intelligence, technology, and purpose. Astrophysicists fed the energy readings into every computational model humanity has built for understanding stellar processes, and every model failed. The numbers simply don't converge with known physics. Solar fusion produces predictable spectra. Radioactive decay follows exponential curves. Even exotic stellar phenomena like magnetars or quasars obey mathematical principles we can model. But the companions' energy signatures match none of these templates. Desperate to make the math work, scientists began proposing physics that belongs in theoretical papers rather than observation logs. Antimatter catalysis reactions contained within magnetic bottles of impossible strength, dark matter interactions that somehow convert mass directly to energy with nearly 100% efficiency, exotic vacuum energy extraction from quantum foam itself. These aren't the cautious speculations of careful academics. These are the desperate attempts of people watching instruments tell them something exists that shouldn't be possible. The companions function as more than passive escorts following an ATLAS's gravitational wake. Their energy output, double that of the main craft, suggests active systems, purposeful design, roles to play in whatever mission brought them here. Military analysts speaking on deep background to defense journalists use terms like frontline agents and forward deployment. The companions radiate like warships at battle stations, not like civilian craft on peaceful missions. Their positioning, arrayed in a three-dimensional formation that maximizes sensor coverage while maintaining rapid response capability, suggests they're designed for close approaches to planetary bodies, for encounters requiring power, maneuverability, and perhaps weaponry. This isn't scientific analysis, it's threat assessment, and the threat looks disturbingly real. Intent reveals itself in data with the stark clarity of mathematics. Perfect formation maintenance requires active propulsion and constant course corrections. Identical composition across all 9 escorts means centralized manufacturing or a single origin point. Synchronized power output suggests network coordination, command and control structures, communication protocols running on timescales too fast for human perception. These objects share a purpose, follow a plan, answer to something. The section closes with a slow, ominous realization that settles over readers like cold water. Something built them with precision that exceeds our best engineering. Something directed them across interstellar distances without losing formation. Something decided when they would reveal themselves to human observation. And that something is still out there, still watching, still directing operations we can barely perceive, let alone understand. While amateur images exploded across social media, generating millions of shares and spawning countless theories, NASA maintained a posture of careful neutrality that fooled no one paying attention. Press releases spoke of continuing observations and preliminary data analysis without confirming or denying the obvious. ESA offered even less, with spokespeople declining interview requests and referring questions to committees that never seemed to meet. Scientists who had previously welcomed media attention suddenly became unavailable, their university press offices issuing statements about focusing on research rather than speculation. The contrast between public enthusiasm and institutional silence created a credibility gap wide enough to drive conspiracy theories through, and drive them people did, filling the information vacuum with everything from benevolent space brothers to invasion fleets cloaked as comets. Behind the scenes, emergency meetings convened with the kind of security protocols usually reserved for nuclear incidents or terrorist threats. The Pentagon's Strategic Command assembled working groups pulling expertise from astrophysics, aerospace engineering, and intelligence analysis. ESA headquarters in Paris saw delegations from member states demanding answers and contingency plans. China's National Space Administration, typically secretive about its activities, began coordinating with international partners with unprecedented openness, a sign that whatever was happening transcended normal geopolitical tensions. Contingency plans emerged from dusty archives, planetary defense scenarios, asteroid deflection mission blueprints, kinetic impactor designs meant for near-Earth objects, but now being hastily recalculated for interstellar velocities. Nuclear option briefings, literal discussions of whether atomic weapons could be deployed against the visitors if necessary, appeared on classified agendas. The machinery of defense mobilized in secret, while the public remained largely unaware of how seriously their governments took the threat. The silence itself became the loudest signal imaginable. If Atlas and its companions were merely unusual but harmless cosmic curiosities, there would be press conferences, public engagement, educational outreach making the most of a once-in-a-generation discovery. Instead, there was evasion, deflection, and the unmistakable body language of institutions hoping a problem might somehow resolve itself before difficult truths needed acknowledgement. This was the Jaws moment, when the mayor's refusal to close the beaches told you more about the danger than any official statement could. Not showing the monster made it more terrifying than any special effect. The public, not stupid, understood the subtext. When your government won't tell you what's happening in the sky above you, it's because what's happening is bad enough that they fear the telling more than the knowing. Harvard astronomer Avi Loeb, already controversial for his willingness to consider non-natural explanations for Oumuamua, proposed what would become known as the mothership hypothesis in a paper that was simultaneously published and classified portions redacted. His premise was elegant and chilling. Atlas isn't a comet that happens to have fragments. It's a carrier vessel deliberately releasing smaller probes into our solar system for purposes we can only guess at. The hypothesis accounts for everything that natural models fail to explain. The dense energy cores suggesting compact reactors rather than dispersed ice. The synchronized orbits maintained through active propulsion. The sudden emergence timed too perfectly to be random. Loeb described it as analogous to naval operations. A carrier enters foreign waters and deploys scout craft to map defenses, identify resources, assess threats. The mothership itself maintains distance and power reserves while smaller, more agile units do the dangerous work of close approach. What probes mean depends on who sent them and why they're here. The optimistic scenario imagines scientific missions, alien astronomers studying our solar system the way we study others, mapping magnetic fields and analyzing planetary compositions with instruments we can't begin to comprehend. Perhaps they're searching for biosignatures, scanning Earth's atmosphere for oxygen and methane ratios that indicate life, compiling data for some vast database of inhabited worlds. The darker possibilities proliferate in the spaces between known facts. Are they military reconnaissance, advanced elements surveying a target? Are they resource assessors, cataloging our system's minerals and energy sources for future exploitation? Or something stranger still, maintenance drones servicing ancient infrastructure humanity never knew existed, custodians of a solar system that was colonized long before primates descended from trees. The escorts fan out under the cover of Atlas's cometary disguise, each one a mystery wrapped in electromagnetic emissions and exotic matter, and we can only watch and wonder which scenario our instruments are revealing. Initial skepticism proposed mundane explanations rooted in known physics. Perhaps Atlas suffered an impact that fragmented its nucleus, with the escorts merely chunks of the original body following similar trajectories. This collision fragment model satisfied many scientists until the detailed analysis arrived and dismantled it piece by piece. Fragments don't maintain formation across millions of kilometers. Fragments don't contain nuclear reactors or radiate gigawatts of controlled power. Fragments don't share identical spectral signatures suggesting manufactured alloys rather than natural minerals. And fragments definitely don't all develop identical green tails indicating active outgassing despite having supposedly fractured apart. Each nail in the natural theory's coffin drove deeper until even the skeptics fell silent, their objections exhausted. The consensus that emerged was grudging, uncomfortable, revolutionary. These are machines. They were built by intelligence. They serve a purpose. And that purpose brought them to our doorstep. Just when astronomers thought the universe had exhausted its capacity for shock, a second giant entered the stage with timing so perfect it seemed scripted. C2025R2, quickly nicknamed SW after its discoverers, appeared in long-range observations as a comet approximately 100 times larger and brighter than Atlas. Its tail, when fully developed under solar heating, stretched across 5 moon-widths of sky, a glowing banner visible to the naked eye from dark sites, dominating the heavens like celestial graffiti. Where Atlas seemed stealthy, almost reluctant to draw attention until its escorts emerged, SW announced itself with the subtlety of a searchlight. 2 interstellar giants, both heading sunward, both arriving in the same narrow window of time, closing on converging paths like trains approaching an intersection from different directions. The slow pan of cosmic horror, realizing that one impossible visitor might be a coincidence, but 2 suggests something far more deliberate. Speculation about SW's purpose fractured into competing theories, each supported by different data sets and assumptions. Some proposed SW as a protector or interceptor, a massive defensive platform rushing to block ATLAS from whatever mission brought it here, perhaps responding to the escort's emergence with alarm. This theory gained traction among those who wanted to believe in cosmic good guys, in civilizations advanced enough to police interstellar space and protect developing worlds like ours. Others saw coordination rather than conflict, both objects as parts of a larger operation, with ATLAS serving as advanced scout while SW brought heavier equipment, more power, greater capacity for whatever task required such resources. Perhaps they exchanged data through laser communication we can't decrypt. Perhaps they transfer cargo or energy in ways our instruments register only as anomalous emissions. Historians added another layer, pointing to records of green-tailed visitors appearing approximately every 2,200 years throughout recorded history. Chinese astronomers in 200 BCE, Babylonian tablets, medieval chronicles. If SW and ATLAS are part of a cycle, a scheduled return rather than first contact, then convergence isn't coincidence, but confirmation of a pattern older than human civilization. No coincidence could survive the weight of accumulated evidence. Two interstellar objects arriving the same week, entering through the same general corridor of space, both exhibiting anomalous characteristics, both heading toward perihelion, the point of closest approach to the sun, within days of each other. Random statistics don't work this way. Gravitational dynamics don't produce such correlations. Natural systems don't synchronize across light years. The only explanation that fits the timing is intention. Atlas and SW were sent, launched, programmed to arrive now, to converge here, to accomplish something that requires their combined presence. Randomness dies under mathematical scrutiny, and what rises from its corpse is the stark outline of purpose, design, and an intelligence capable of planning operations on timescales that make human history look like a brief flicker of light. Ancient records, when examined with modern astronomical knowledge, reveal patterns that historians dismissed as mythology until Atlas and SW made those myths feel like memory. Chinese imperial astronomers in 200 BCE recorded a heavenly dragon with a green tail that split into multiple pieces, each piece maintaining formation as they crossed the sky before vanishing. Babylonian tablets from roughly the same era describe a splitting star that moved against the fixed heavens, accompanied by smaller lights that danced in its wake. Medieval European chronicles speak of a green banner in the sky, brighter than Venus, that appeared for several weeks before fragmenting into a formation of lights that terrified populations already on edge from plague and war. Modern instruments now suggest these weren't superstitious exaggerations or atmospheric phenomena. They were observations of something real, something recurring, something that visits our solar system on a schedule measured in millennia. This might not be first contact, but recurring contact, a realization that shifts the entire framework of the discussion. Humanity has always assumed that if aliens arrived, it would be unprecedented, the moment everything changed. But if Atlas and SW are part of a cycle, if they or objects like them have been coming for thousands of years, then we are not witnessing an arrival, but a return. The visitors might remember previous passes, might have records of Earth when Rome was rising or falling, when our ancestors painted caves and wondered at lights in the sky. This isn't first contact. It's the first time we had instruments sophisticated enough to see beyond the awe and fear, to measure and analyze and understand that the lights in the sky carry meaning, power, and intention. We are not discovering them. We are finally, after millennia of watching with naked eyes and primitive tools, beginning to comprehend what they are. The terror of pattern recognition settles over researchers like Frost. We are the first generation with telescopes powerful enough to see the escorts, with spectroscopy advanced enough to detect their exotic compositions, with computer models capable of calculating their impossible energies. Our ancestors saw the same phenomena and wrote myths, stories, warnings that we dismissed as folklore, but they saw truly, if incompletely. They witnessed the cycle and recorded it as best they could, leaving breadcrumbs for a future generation that would possess both the tools to understand and the curse of knowing. We can see the pattern now. 2,200 years, green-tailed visitors, objects that split and move with purpose. But seeing the pattern doesn't grant us power to alter it, to stop it, or even to know what it means. We are trapped in the terrible space between ignorance and understanding, capable of recognizing the cycle but helpless to know whether we're witnessing a surveillance mission, a harvest schedule, or something stranger than our categories can contain. Behind the public silence, defense satellites received new programming, their sensors recalibrated to track objects moving at interstellar velocities. Reconnaissance probes originally designed for planetary science found themselves repurposed, their trajectories adjusted to bring them closer to ATLAS's predicted path. Classified communications between space agencies and military commands spiked to levels not seen since the height of Cold War tensions, secure channels glowing hot with traffic as nations coordinated responses to a threat that transcended earthly politics. China accelerated its planetary defense program, openly discussing kinetic impactors and nuclear interceptors in ways that would have been diplomatically impossible months earlier. Europe revived kinetic interceptor designs from asteroid deflection studies, engineers working triple shifts to adapt systems for targets that wouldn't cooperate by following ballistic trajectories. Reports, neither confirmed nor denied, suggested the U.S. convened nuclear readiness panels to discuss whether atomic weapons could be deployed in space despite international treaties, and whether such weapons would even be effective against objects that casually radiate gigawatts of power. Time was running out in the most literal sense. Perihelion, when both Atlas and SW would reach their closest approach to the Sun, was weeks away, not years. There was no time to design new spacecraft, no window to develop novel interceptor technologies or defensive systems. Humanity faced the visitors with whatever tools happened to be available when the visitors decided to reveal themselves, a strategic position so disadvantageous it bordered on helplessness. Even if the escorts proved hostile, humanity's response capabilities were limited to repurposed planetary defense systems designed for inert rocks, not intelligent machines. And if they weren't hostile, the secrecy and militarization suggested institutional fear that ran deeper than concern over alien weapons. The greatest threat might not be what they could do to us, but what knowing about them would do to us. How societies might fracture, how religions might reinterpret their cosmologies, how the simple psychological fact of knowing we are not alone and never were could destabilize civilizations built on assumptions of human centrality and Earth's special status. Fear of acknowledgement exceeded fear of the visitors themselves in many classified assessments. Analysts studied historical parallels. How isolated civilizations responded when contacted by technologically superior ones, how social structures collapsed when foundational beliefs were challenged, how even beneficial contact often proved catastrophic for the less advanced party. The concern wasn't merely that ATLAS might attack or that SW might have hostile intent. The concern was that admitting their existence, confirming that they were machines from somewhere else, would trigger cascading failures in social cohesion, economic stability, and political legitimacy. What happens when 7 billion people simultaneously realize their place in the universe is smaller, more precarious, and stranger than they imagined? What happens when certainty dies and is replaced by the infinite uncertainty of knowing intelligence exists beyond Earth, but not knowing its intentions, its capabilities, or whether humanity represents dinner or data? The mobilization happened in secret because the alternative, mass panic, religious crises, economic collapse, seemed more immediately dangerous than anything the visitors had yet done. Magnetometers scattered across Earth began detecting something strange 3 days after the escort's emergence, faint, synchronized pulses occurring every 43 seconds like a heartbeat, too regular to be natural and too widespread to be instrument error. Seismographs logged ultra-low frequency vibrations with no tectonic source, waves propagating through Earth's crust at frequencies that suggested artificial generation. Migratory animals changed routes without explanation, birds veering from traditional flyways, whales altering migration patterns that had been stable for generations, even insects showing behavioral anomalies that ecologists struggled to categorize. The sensory detail accumulated like fever symptoms. The planet itself seemed to be responding to the visitors' presence, registering their approach through channels biology and geology were never supposed to share. Was this electromagnetic interference from the escort's power systems? Was it intentional signaling meant to wake something dormant? Or were we witnessing communication we could detect but not comprehend, like dogs hearing whistles beyond human auditory range? Radio astronomers at the Arecibo Observatory's successor facility captured something that made their blood run cold. A directed energy burst from one of the escorts, focused with laser precision at a specific lunar region. The target wasn't random. It was aimed at Mare Moscoviense, a region where orbital surveys had detected massive subsurface density anomalies called mascons, gravitational irregularities suggesting concentrated mass beneath the lunar regolith. The burst lasted 2.3 seconds, carried information encoded in frequency modulations that computers could detect but not decode, and then ceased. This wasn't broadcast. This was communication, precise targeting, a signal sent from the escort to something on or in the moon. The implications hit researchers with physical force. Was someone or something on the moon? Had it been there all along, buried beneath craters and mare basalt, waiting for a signal that would wake it after a sleep measured in geological epochs? The moon as a node, a piece of infrastructure predating human civilization, shifted from fringe speculation to haunting possibility. What if Luna isn't merely Earth's natural satellite, but also an ancient artifact, a communications relay or observation post planted before biology on Earth evolved past single-celled organisms? The mascons, those mysterious dense regions that have puzzled scientists since Apollo missions first mapped lunar gravity, might not be impact remnants or volcanic intrusions. They might be machinery, structures, power sources hidden beneath billions of years of meteoric bombardment. And if the escorts are awakening something in Mare Moscoviense, if they're sending activation codes or update packets to systems that have waited silently since the Hadean Eon, then humanity's relationship with the moon, the object we've worshipped, explored, and taken for granted, requires fundamental reconsideration. The idea crystallizes into cinematic horror, a sleeping giant stirred, ancient systems booting up, and above us in the night sky, the moon becoming not merely a satellite, but a participant, an actor in a drama humans never knew they were part of. Orbital mechanics, normally the domain of predictable mathematics and deterministic trajectories, revealed something that made astronomers reach for words like scheduled and coordinated. Atlas, with its 9 escorts, and SW, with whatever companions it might be hiding, will align within a narrow solar corridor in mid-October. Their perihelia, closest approaches to the Sun, overlap not just by months or weeks, but by days. The distances between them at closest approach will be approximately 50 million kilometers, near enough that interactions become possible, perhaps inevitable. Random bodies entering a solar system don't choreograph their arrivals this precisely. Natural objects don't time their perihelia to coincide, but engineered systems, missions planned with computers more sophisticated than anything humans have built, could easily schedule such an alignment. The mathematics screamed in tension with the cold clarity of numbers that don't lie. The blackout window added another layer of suspicious timing to an already impossible convergence. During the critical period when Atlas and SW reach perihelion and their escorts are most active, the Sun's glare will blind Earth's telescopes. Solar corona scattered light across the inner solar system, making observation of objects near the Sun exponentially harder. Space-based observatories can mitigate but not eliminate the problem. Ground-based telescopes become essentially useless. There will be days, perhaps a week, when humanity's best instruments simply cannot see what Atlas and SW are doing, cannot track their escorts, cannot monitor whatever interactions or operations occur at perihelion. Natural coincidence would be remarkable enough, but the accumulation of perfect timing, arrival, convergence, and a period of enforced blindness suggested something darker. That whoever or whatever sent the visitors deliberately chose a schedule that would hide their activities behind stellar glare. The Sun becomes not just a physical body, but a curtain, and we are forced to watch from outside the theater while the important acts happen off stage. The final section pivots from specific analysis to sweeping perspective. Humanity has always seen omens in the sky, comets portending disaster, planetary alignments suggesting divine intention, eclipses inspiring fear and awe. For most of history, these were projections, our psychology imposing meaning on random celestial mechanics. But the solar system changed in a blink, between one telescope exposure and the next, and what we see now cannot be dismissed as pareidolia or apophenia. We see machines, objects built and sent with purpose, moving with coordination that proves intelligence directed them. The ancient omens were right, not in their specific predictions, but in their essential message. The sky is not empty and not neutral. It contains actors with agendas, and sometimes those actors turn their attention toward Earth. Our understanding must change to accommodate this new reality, must expand to include the possibility, now probability, that we are not observers of the cosmos, but participants in systems much older and larger than human civilization. The sky revealed its secret, and the secret is that we were never alone. The shift from science to dread happens when questions replace certainty, when the confident predictions of physics give way to the terrible uncertainty of intelligence. Are they guardians, maintaining some cosmic quarantine or protecting Earth from threats we never knew existed? Are they scouts, the advanced elements of an exploratory mission mapping our system for purposes benign or hostile? Or are they harvesters, efficiently cataloging resources and evaluating whether strip mining the asteroid belt or mining our oceans would be profitable? We build questions from fragments of data, but the answers require understanding motivations alien to human psychology, operating on timescales incomprehensible to creatures who measure time in decades rather than epochs. Was the moon ever truly ours, or did we simply colonize a structure we didn't build and couldn't recognize? Did our telescopes trigger the next phase of their mission, our increasing sophistication serving as a signal that humanity had reached some threshold of development that warranted closer attention? We were never the watchers, despite centuries of astronomy and decades of SETI. We thought ourselves discoverers, brave explorers peering into cosmic darkness with instruments of ever-increasing sophistication. But the truth emerging from Atlas's escorts and SW's massive presence rewrites the narrative with brutal simplicity. We are the discovered, the watched, the specimens under observation. Our telescopes didn't expose them. They allowed themselves to be seen, peeling back whatever stealth or cloaking or dimensional hiding they employed, revealing themselves in a moment and manner of their choosing. This inversion of perspective, from subject to object, from watcher to watched, carries psychological weight that exceeds any material threat. It means they have been here or nearby or aware of us for unknown durations. It means everything we thought we knew about our place in the cosmos was fantasy, comfortable mythology humans told themselves while beings infinitely older and more sophisticated observed with whatever passes for amusement or scientific interest in their civilization. The final beat strikes with cinematic precision, an image designed to haunt 10 objects, Atlas and its 9 companions, with SW lurking as an 11th presence, synchronized with precision that proves they share purpose, radiating power that proves they are machines, moving with deliberation that proves intelligence guides them. They carve paths through our solar system not as visitors but as possessors of ancient right, following trajectories determined before humans existed. And as they move closer, as perihelion approaches and the sun's glare prepares to hide whatever happens next, one haunting possibility remains, growing from whisper to scream in the minds of those who understand what they're seeing. Maybe they are not passing through. Maybe this isn't a flyby or a brief reconnaissance. Maybe they are here for us, for our planet, our resources, our biology, or our consciousness. Maybe the cycle that brings them every 2,200 years is not surveillance, but harvest. Maybe we have been watched all along because we were always the crop, and this October, mid-perihelion behind solar glare where no telescope can record the truth, the harvest finally begins.